total control. Know how to work the backside. Off the brakes. People of the world, thank you so much for making it this far. Pour yourself a jug of whiskey, a spot of tea, a cup of coffee, because we are going to talk real romantic talk. That's right. I'm going to talk about working that backside. What? Okay, cut, reset. I'm going to talk about controlling that backside. What? People say my videos are too long. You can't keep interrupting me. Now, it's funny because it's so stupid. My demographic, I don't know what my demographic is. I've never checked my analytics. I have no clue. Women, yeah, women have never watched one of my videos. I think anybody that watches it I think most of these people are cool and have a sense of humor. Yo, if you're cool and have a sense of humor, or if you're a woman, leave a comment below. Thank you, peace. Woo woo. Yo. So here's the thing, so beginner riders will start off by riding your basic single track on pretty easy trails. There'll come a point where they will get bored with that, and they're gonna see things off to the side of the trails, and they're gonna question, could I ride my bike down that? Now it's typically not drops, and it's typically not jumps at this stage, but it's rock rolls. Now that question, can I ride my bike down that, will transition that beginner rider into an intermediate rider and an advanced rider. And no matter what stage they are in their biking journey, that question will always be at the forefront of their minds when they're on their bike. So it's important to start off that journey with good habits, good bike control, because the technique used for riding your bike down that can be applied all over the trail. Here we go, we got a peeper poker. Get out of here, peeper poker. Yeah, I'm not afraid of heights. I was born at home. But up here can make your palms a little sweaty. Looks pretty steep, it looks pretty scary. I promise you, it is steep, but it's not so scary when you know how to ride it. So let's talk about a reference point real quick, and what I call that is the Ponder point or the Ponder line. Point of no return is what Ponder stands for. Yeah, Ponder point. You linguistics majors. I know it's redundant. What the Ponder point is the point of no return. So you cannot put a foot down when you pass the Ponder point. Most importantly, your front wheel. So when your front wheel passes that Ponder point, you are on the roller coaster and you are going for the ride. So you have to commit when you get to that point. If you try to put your foot down when your front wheel's past the Ponder point, you're going to do that dreaded top tube dance that nobody wants to do. So on this roll here, our Ponder point is kind of the knuckle of the roll. Okay, so we need to look at it and define where that knuckle is. This is before the point of no return. We could slow down, we could put our foot down here, but once our front wheel passes this mark, we are beyond the point of no return and we're going for it. So one thing I need to mention is your point of no return is really also based on your speed. So most rock rolls you can kind of creep up to and drop into. Now if you're feeling advantageous and you're feeling super aggressive, you woke up on the proper side of the bed and didn't have drool on your chin, you might come into it a little faster, feel a little bit more motivated, a little bit more confident. When that's the case, you need to know that your point of no return might be further back, because if you get scared, you get spooked, you want to give up, you want to quit, you lock on the brakes, it's going to take your body a little bit of time. So the first thing we have to clear up are irrational fears. And one of the irrational fears that riders have when they initiate a roll is that they could potentially just flip forward and do a forward roll or forward somersault. Really, that's not possible, because as long as your wheels are rolling, right, and your front wheel doesn't catch on something and stop abruptly, you can be very vertical and still roll without tumbling or flipping forward off of your bike. For that matter, in all the fails that I've ever watched, all my time mountain biking, I've never seen somebody just fall forward over the handlebars without locking the front brake or binding up the front wheel and stopping abruptly, right? So when you initiate a steep roll, get that out of your mind that you're just gonna flip off your bike and fall forward, okay? So controlling the backside really relies on a strong body position. That's the meat of this discussion. However, the proper body position is not always intuitive to newer riders, or even more intermediate riders for that matter. So first I'm going to tell you what not to do and why. So the initial thing a lot of riders do when they're inexperienced with rock rolls is that they push back on the bike. Why? Because when we're on a roller coaster and we're at the top of the hill and the roller coaster starts to drop, what do? We push our head back and we woo. If we're on a speedboat and we're picking up G's and we're hitting waves, what do? We push back. Woo, okay? The difference between roller coaster speedboats and mountain bikes is this. You are in control of the mountain bike. You're not in control of the roller coaster. So to be in control of the mountain bike, you need to understand that your body mass weighs way more than the mountain bike. And you need to understand that your body mass controls the bike. You're not riding the bike, okay? The bike is riding with you. So you're controlling what the bike does, where it goes, and how the bike is balanced. So what happens is when you come back like this, down a rock roll, okay? All of our weight now is on our rear wheel. We are now riding, for the most part, a unicycle, okay? The problem with all of our weight being on our rear wheel is if we lock up the brakes, we lose all of the traction. So a skidding tire offers no traction and no control, okay? So when all of our body weight is on one wheel with no traction or no control, we've essentially just lost control of the whole bike. We've lost control of our body. The other issue is when you push back here, when you are initiating your roll, you are not guiding your body mass, your center of gravity, into the roll. You're just going where your bike takes you. And again, you are putting yourself in a position where your bike is controlling the outcome and not your body mass. And thirdly, when you are back here, all of our weight is off of our front wheel. And we rely on a weighted front wheel to make micro adjustments in steering. What happens is those micro adjustments that we can't make become major issues on the rock roll. So what a lot of riders will do when they have the understanding that they need to weight their front wheel into rock rolls, will just kind of go in this stagnant praying mantis position, right? They'll feel like they're in some sort of attack position. But what that false position does, this praying mantis position does, is it doesn't put you in a strong position for control. Again, your body mass is going where your bike is taking you. You're not controlling your body mass. Why? Because you're kind of just stuck in this position. So what do we want to do instead? Enough of talking about what we don't want to do. Here's what we want to do. So when we ride up to the rock roll, we can come in slow and in control, okay? And we're going to come in high on the bike with our chin over our stem and our head up, okay? The beauty in coming into a rock roll high on the bike like this is that you have a great vision of the roll. You have a great vision of the trail beyond the roll. When you're back like this, your vision is really obscured and it's delayed compared to what you can gain by being high on the bike. The other thing you want to think about is putting all of your weight in your feet. I know that we talk about being forward on the bike to weight the front wheel, but that doesn't mean we put all of our body mass in our upper body weight into our handlebars. Now, when we come up to that point of no return, what we're going to do is we're going to tip beyond it and we're going to drop into the bike like this, okay? So we're going to tip beyond it and drop in. Now, this is a little dramatic and every scenario will be different, but the gist of it is, again, this. High on the bike, point of no return, drop into the bike. Now, dropping into the bike can look like this, can also look like this, can look like this, and it can look like this. But what it doesn't look like is it doesn't look like this, and it doesn't look like this, and it doesn't look like this, okay? What's the difference? Well, the difference is when we have a more of an aggressive position when we drop in the bike, we're hinging at our hips. So we're hinging at our hips into the bike. We hinge at our hips. And if we have to shift backward a little bit, we shift with our hips. We don't shift with our arms. See the difference? So when we shift with our hips, we can still find that balance and control that we need, you know, from forward and back on the bike without reducing weight on our front wheel. I'm a child of nature, so I'm going to draw this in the snow. I could have done it with motion graphics on the computer, but the less time behind the computer, the better. So this is going to be our rock roll. Okay, now the lines that I draw above it will represent our center of gravity. It kind of represents us, but think of it more so as our center of gravity, our weight, you know, our hips to our chest, our body mass. So what happens is when you come in, okay, and you kind of do nothing, you just go with gravity and roll down it. What happens is right here at this knuckle and perhaps on the back side, there's a moment of lightness on the bike where you just don't have as much weight pressing into the backside of the roll. Now, obviously, gravity will take over and do its thing, but that lightness, that lack of intention will be noticeable on the backside. Now, when you come in and then you drive your body mass down into the rock, what happens is you're super heavy right here. You're heavy all the way from the knuckle, the point of no return, down the backside. When you're heavy the whole way down the backside, you're going to have great control. You're going to have great traction. Your suspension's going to do its thing. Yo, all right, we're back. Let's do this. Coming in with a lot of weight in our feet, okay? We're high on our bike. We're controlling our braking, point of no return, and we drop into our bike. Now, when you drop in, you're not always going to be like low on the bike. You might rise up a little bit, but it's important to know that you drop with that body mass. You initiate that roll with a dropping body mass. Certified pecker poker, get out of here. 30 seconds trail work, logged in the books. So again, here's another good example of how our body being in a strong, centralized position can really help us transfer through some rough, chunky stuff. And in a lot of cases, rock rolls, because the nature of a rock is that they're rounded, so they don't always round and transition into the ground cleanly. So here's a good example of how this rock kind of just drops off, and you have like a 2-foot kind of harsh section here. The only way that you can come down this rock and push through this little end bit with strength is if your body is in a good centralized position. Let's take a look at it. So again, the cool thing about rolls is you can come into them real slow. So we're coming in real slow, real control. We spot our ponder and we sink into our bike. Now generally this type of technique works for any type of roll that's a bike length or more. Now when they become shorter, your technique might be a little bit different. I'll talk about that in another video. So remember, our speed can be as slow as possible to the point where we don't need to put a foot down, especially when we're past our ponder line. We just want to make sure we maintain momentum. We're going to the left of the lake. Here's our ponder line. We're high, we're dropping, we drop. Coming in high, point over, off the brakes. See these squirrels right here? They're battling it out like the Montagues and the Capulets. Guys, calm down. For real. Don't make me come over there. You go up that tree and you go up that tree. Yo, all right, here we go. We're at another roll, which kind of sketches a lot of people out because it's got a ledge. So if you look right there, there's a ledge right in the middle of the roll, and a lot of people think, well, that's going to get them airborne. And it might get you airborne if you don't ride it with the proper techniques. So the technique that I'm telling you about today will get us through those ledges, right? We're going to ride them with control because our body position is going to be in a place where we're balanced. We're not riding the rear wheel unicycle, okay? We don't want to do that bullshit. Right here's my ponder point, so I can go real slow up until that point. Now, once I get at that point, it's off the brakes, and I'm just going to sink into my bike, hinge at the hips. All right, light in the hands. We're finding our line, confirming our line. We're high, we're off the brakes, and we sink into our bike. These are skills that you can apply all over the place on trails. Really what we're doing is we're pumping the backside. Now I didn't want to go that far with the joke, so I'm not gonna go there. Cut. Yo, it's in the low 20 degrees out here Fahrenheit, so it's like, what, negative 723 Celsius based on my math. Anyway, it's cold. But my point is this: if you would like free information on the interwebs and you want to support what I do, just hit subscribe, hit like. I appreciate it very much. It's not exactly an enjoyable day to be out on the bike, but I feel like I have good information to give, and I would like to give it.